we have members in the state of Florida who needed us to do something, but they didn't want us to completely abandon them. We have partner organizations across the Black community who signed contracts to convene there. The financial hardship will be a high burden. So we said this is a travel advisory. You travel at your own risk. As we begin to organize and address this issue, the only way this issue can truly be addressed, and that's through the next several election cycles.
This is a serious moment. Ron DeSantis is governor of the state of Florida. He's expected to make the official run for president of the United States. And he is very clear in his ban on African-American history in public schools, AP history. And also he's taken a swipe at the mouse, if you will, when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. Why this advisory in this moment as he's making these moves that are kind of consistent with what we've been seeing already?
It was important for the African-American community to speak clearly about the policy recommendation that he's been advancing. Those policies not only suffocate the ability of young people to get a more global learning experience, it can potentially cause harm. And so we have members in the state of Florida who needed us to do something, but they didn't want us to completely abandon them. We have partner organizations across the Black community who signed contracts to convene there. The financial hardship will be a high burden. So we said this is a travel advisory. You travel at your own risk. As we begin to organize and address this issue, the only way this issue can truly be addressed, and that's through the next several election cycles.
So other organizations have done similar things, but by the nation's oldest civil rights organization to take this stand, this is a major step. But what if residents or your membership in Texas or your membership in Arkansas or your membership in any other state that's espousing this anti-wokeness, anti-Blackness, anti-otherness, will you do the same?
But it all depends. We have a very deliberative process to determine whether or not the desired outcome that we're seeking can be achieved through using this method. For the state of Florida, it became very clear to us that he was using his platform to otherize so many communities, especially African-American communities, in his attempt to qualify as a viable candidate for the president of the United States. We have to put a microscope on him. We have to make sure that the nation understand the dangerous policies that he would represent if he was elected. We have to ensure that our members in Florida, that they're not isolated or alone as we look at future elections. You know, it was heartening to see the change of what took place in Jacksonville, Florida. We are nonpartisan, but we are not blind to the fact that the candidate that he wanted to win actually lost. That's telling us the small minority that he's speaking to is continuously to shrink. And as a result of that, it opens the door for NAACP and all of our partner organizations to begin to accelerate the exposure of how bad of an individual he is, and he's not qualified to represent all of the citizens because he is myopic in his approach to try to represent a small minority of the population.
How bad of an individual he is and myopic in his approach, that is profound. And with that said, Ron DeSantis isn't alone. There's Donald Trump.
Well, it's not only Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Governor Abbott, and any number of private citizens, individuals, and some companies who have utilized their platforms to otherize citizens, potentially causing harm. We have not seen this type of escalation outside of what Trump did, other than what we've seen in the South during the segregation period or in Germany leading up to the Holocaust. We must pay special attention to this un-American, vile, these vile policies that's been used. But more importantly, if we say nothing or do nothing, we are all subjected to future harms.
What does a travel advisory mean on the state of Florida? That, I mean, people love Mickey Mouse down there. People love Miami. People love the Florida Keys. What does it say to Black people? What does this travel advisory mean to Black people and also those who are allies in the fight for equality?
Well, there's no denying that Florida geography is an attractive place for people to go. But just like the African American community has been under attack, so have Disney, and so have many other communities. And so we're saying that if you must go, do so with in mind of supporting the African American communities and our partner communities in terms of engaging civically, passing out books, doing the very things that he's been trying to ban as we prepare for the next election cycle. Fact of the matter is, this problem came into being because there was a set of individuals who voted for him. And the reality is this problem can only be fixed through the next several election cycles. And so we cannot abandon Florida citizens. We cannot abandon Floridians who are African Americans. We must support them if we must go. And if we must go, let's strengthen the civic engagement infrastructure. Let's make sure that we can provide young people with quality learning experiences by sharing books. And let's stay focused on outcomes. And the outcome here is the next election cycle. Elections have consequences, so we have to vote in larger numbers than we've ever done in that state.
Are we in a rollback? Are we seeing what we saw in the 50s and 60s with such an open anti-other now?
But what we are witnessing is a protracted decade-long fight. As regressive policies are put in place, people rise up and we put forth progressive policies. And that back and forth has happened for several decades. But what we are also understanding is the power of race as a tool in that political fight. The fight is about who gets taxed, who's not taxed, and how those tax dollars are used. And what they do is to protect the wealthiest individuals in this country so they don't have to pay more taxes. They try to roll back programs and institute policies, but they can only do that if they have the numbers at the polling place to do so. And as a result, they use race as a fear tactic to get people to vote against their interests. They use race as a target to try to bar access to voting. They use race as on their platforms to demagogue the most vile, racist language that you can find. But in the end, we will win. In fact, April, we are winning despite these temporary setbacks.
Yeah, if you change the narrative that they're putting out, and if you really look at it, they're fighting so hard because you are winning to change the dynamic of the wins that you're gaining.
The demographics tell you, demographics is not destiny, but it's the reality that in order for these individuals to attract new voters, they have to expand their platform to be more inclusive, or they limit access to voting. So as opposed to expanding their platform to be more inclusive, they're seeking ways to limit access to voting, which is unconstitutional, un-American, and undemocratic.